hello, and welcome to Be Lovers Again Relationship Advice. Be Lovers Again Relationship Advice comes to you every Tuesday. And today I really want to talk about soothing your own heart. A lot of times when we are in conversations with our partners, when we're not agreeing, we're disagreeing, we may say hurtful things, we may believe we heard hurtful things, or that somebody did something that hurt our hearts. And repairing our heart is an inside job. Repairing our heart is something that we need to learn how to do for ourselves. There's a big misconception that I need you to apologize and then I'll be okay. You have to admit that you were wrong or that you said something mean or hurtful to me, and then I'll be okay. And it's a misconception. It's really not true. We come to believe this over time because we don't understand, we haven't had the experience of owning that the hurt is in our heart because we care. Owning that you can hurt us. You can hurt me because I care. Because I'm involved and I'm invested in our relationship. You matter. The relationship matters. That you like me, that you love me, that you think I'm okay matters. When we get upset, when we get our feelings hurt, we get agitated, charged, emotionally charged, we can use some language around that. Just between you and me, right now, we can use some language around that to help you understand this more clearly. And that is about self-regulation. Self-regulation, being regulated, being dysregulated. So if we're having an upsetting conversation and I get upset and my feelings get hurt, and a lot of times when we think we get upset, we don't know, we don't honor, we don't own that it's really our feelings that are hurt. So that's the first piece. I want you to think about your feelings. If you're involved and invested in another person, in their present and their future, and you're in a relationship, you are hurtable. You're hurtable. And so in a conversation, you might think you're frustrated. You might think you're mad because you're not being heard. You might, all that cognitive stuff is going on. But the fact of the matter is that your heart is hurt. It's just true. And when your heart is hurt and you become emotionally charged, you become dysregulated, no longer at a place of homeostasis, no longer grounded in your adult, no longer able to access the skills and tools and strategies and tactics and attitudes that you have access to when you are grounded, when you are okay, when you are regulated. So the idea of the dysregulated partner needs to take time, step away from the conversation, perhaps step out of the room, and do the work of becoming regulated. Reset your emotional equilibrium. There's so many ways to say it. Leave me some comments in the chat and let me know that this is making some sense to you. That when we talk about reset or regulation, dysregulation, that it's making some sense to you. Because it doesn't matter what the words are, as long as conceptually you understand that you want to take the bull by the horns. You want to be in charge of restoring your equilibrium, of resetting your emotional rightness, sort of like a sailboat gets righted in the water. Well, that's how our emotions are. We need to get them righted in the water. There's a metaphor that I'd like you to remember, and that is if you cut your finger and it bleeds, that what you just know, you assume is true outside your conscious awareness, you know that unless you're a hemophiliac, the blood will coagulate, it will stop bleeding, you'll get a scab, the cells underneath the scab will regenerate, the scab will fall off, your finger will be fine. You know that. You assume that. The same thing is true about our emotions. our emotions heal in the same way our physical body heals. We can do nothing and then go along, and at some point we'll be fine, but we won't know why. It'll take longer than it needs to. Or we think mistakenly that if you say I'm sorry, or you take responsibility, or you own your part of what you did or that you were wrong, that we'll feel better. And that really doesn't have anything to do with our hearts and what happens with our hurt hearts. So I want you to know and believe that your heart can be repaired, that you can soothe your heart, you can regulate your emotions, and that you're in charge of doing that. The best thing to do is to step away from the conversation when you notice that you are, you notice your face, your eyes, getting your teeth, your fists your hands may become fists. Not to punch, but just because your ears might, just because you're highly emotionally charged. And you want to breathe. You want to breathe. Anger, disappointment, hurt is felt in the body. So you want to take 2 or 3 deep breaths in through your nose. Hold your breath, and then release your breath. And then you want to say to yourself, what was my part? How did I contribute? This is a very high level of emotional intelligence. What was my part? Because in every relationship, in every interaction, there are 2 people, and so there are 2 parts. There are 2 people, so there are contributions from each person. What was my part? What was my contribution? And you may not know. And you may not know right away. The more you ask yourself and the more you open to the possibilities that you have a part and you have a contribution, then the further ahead you'll be in understanding how to soothe your heart. You may need to go back and have a conversation when you're grounded, when you're in your adult, when you have access to your skills and natural abilities, compassion, and empathy. Go back and have another conversation to complete the content. But when you are highly emotionally charged, then you no longer are talking about the content, you're talking about the charge. You're talking about the hurt. So you want to know that there's 2 conversations to have. End the emotional conversation and say, I'll be back. I'll be back. What you're saying, the content of the conversation is important to me. I will be back when I can really hear the content and I can participate in problem solving, or I can really hear your point of view about the content. It is the dysregulated partner's responsibility. It is your inside job to manage your emotions, to manage your hurt, your anger, your upset. I hope this has been helpful. Go off today. Have an awesome Tuesday. And be brave, be courageous. Remember, only you can make it happen. And take very good care. Bye-bye for now.